The Detroit Lions are going to have a running back situation. Jamal Williams is no longer under contract. We have Justin Jefferson. We have Jamar Jefferson. We have Craig Reynolds. And I believe Jamar, the rookie we drafted in 2021, is all out of those that I mentioned and DeAndre Swift. So we had 5 running backs and 2 are under contract, if off the top of my head. We talked about previously that Jamal Williams, in my opinion, is a must re-sign. Not only for value, but for what he brings in leadership. And believe it or not, that is important. Sometimes it's more important than money. Look at Michael Brockers. Michael Brockers is getting paid to be a leader, and he better be cut in a month, period. He better be gone, right? But DeAndre Swift, who is approaching the last year, I can't believe it's already been 3 years of COVID and 3 years of DeAndre Swift. And in his 3 years, he has shown flashes like thunder. It comes, you hear it, it's gone, right? Next thing you know, the sun is out. If DeAndre Swift is supposed to be the lightning to Jamal Williams' thunder, I don't see it, right? You don't see it that often. Contract year for him. The Lions will have a decision to make. He'll have a decision to make. Our previous second-round draft pick under Bob Quinn and Matt Patricia was Kerryon Johnson. Kerryon Johnson is no longer in the league, right? Kerryon Johnson faded away in 2020 in his 4th year. His 4th year, we cut him, and by year 5, he was not in the league. Kerryon Johnson was not in the league last year, which was year number 5, right? Wasn't he drafted in 2019, or was he drafted in 2018? Either way, he spent 3.5 years in the league. He spent some time on the Eagles, on the Niners, and now he's playing video games. Kerryon Johnson is barely 25, 26 years old, right? Second round picks. Kerryon Johnson was 41, I believe, and DeAndre Swift was early second, 34-ish, somewhere around there, 34, 35. And the Lions will have a decision to make. And I got a question for you in the chat and you in the comment section. Bijan Robinson comes up. Brad Holmes, I don't know what he's going to do. The one thing I can say with some type of certainty, in my opinion, is that he's not going to take a linebacker early. His earliest linebacker was what, the 4th or 5th round? Derek Barnes, right? Malcolm Rodriguez, 6th. Re-signing Anzalone. They're not a priority for him. They are not a priority. I do expect him to make a free agent signing and he'd be a linebacker. But let's look at DeAndre Swift, and I need you to tell me if DeAndre Swift right now continues on this trend, do we re-sign him in the end of after next year? 2020, 13 games, 114 attempts for 521 yards, an average of 4.6, 8 touchdowns, 51 long. He fumbled twice. He lost both. Right? That's his rookie year. We all talked about the game-winning drive touchdown pass that he dropped from Matthew Stafford in what would be his last year as a Detroit Lion. 2021, 13 games, 151 yards, 151 attempts, 617 yards, 4.1 average with 5 touchdowns. His long was 57. DeAndre Swift's longest run in the NFL has been 57 yards. And last but not least, 2022, 14 games, 99 attempts for 542 yards, 5.5 average with 5 touchdowns. His long was 50 yards. He hasn't fumbled since his first year. So that's a total of 40 games out of 50, right? 17 is 34, and then 16. 50 games, he's played 40. He has 1,680 rushing yards. His average is 4.6, and he has 8 touchdowns. Do we re-sign DeAndre Swift if he continues down this trend? His best year rushing was year 2 at 617. The most games he's played was year 3, which is last year, at 14. His most attempts were year 2. His longest average was year 3. His most touchdowns was year 1. His longest run was year 2. He hasn't fumbled since year 1. He's too inconsistent running up the middle. Frog says Jamal is our number 1 next year. Well, then that's going to be a problem. Frog, that's going to be a problem. If Jamal Williams is our number 1 next year, we will have no run game. I hate to break it to you. Jamal Williams, we just went over his stats. Jamal Williams got contacted at the line of scrimmage. He averaged 4.1 yards a carry. 2.7 were after contact, which means that right after he passed the line of scrimmage was the initial contact. That means, on an average, when Jamal Williams was 1.5 yards past the line of scrimmage was first contact. That means he fell for the other 2.7. If Jamal Williams is number 1, we're not going to have a run game. We might have a scat back game, a Theo Riddick-esque game. And this is where Bijan Robinson, this is why that draft pick is so appealing. If you think that Bijan is in the realm of possibility of Saquon Barkley, and you have a guy that is in the last year of his deal, so what's the answer? What's the answer? Jamal Williams, number 1. If DeAndre Swift stays down, if this trajectory stays the same, do we sign him for next year? Remember when the season first started, and let's not forget, y'all, that most of that 542 that DeAndre Swift had came before he got hurt initially against what? Minnesota? In whatever week that was, right? DeAndre Swift was, I want to say, trending being the rushing leader before he got hurt. So I'm going to keep it a buck. No, we do not. Now, I'm going to throw something out here that might be kind of left field, but also may not be. Swift got hurt the first game. He got hurt against the Eagles. I thought it was a little later. I thought we lost him and Cephas in Minnesota. And St. Brown went out, but he tried to come back in. So I'm going to say no, that we don't. We don't re-sign DeAndre Swift. But this is going to be a very telling year for DeAndre because he spent 1 year under Matt Patricia. He spent 2 years under Dan Campbell and Deuce Staley. We saw how hard Deuce Staley was on DeAndre Swift, and now Deuce Staley is gone. So will DeAndre Swift progress? Will he progress or regress? That's the question. Now, in my opinion, Swift has nothing to lose because whether he's playing for a contract next year, what is he going to do? So what is the answer to the question? Do we re-sign DeAndre Swift if he ends the season with what he did the past 3 years? The max he's played is 13 games out of 50. His most rushing attempts was 151. His most yards was 617. His biggest average was 5.5. His most touchdowns was 8. His long was 57, and he's fumbled twice. I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no. For me, If DeAndre Swift is getting outrun by Jamal Williams, that's a problem. So I'm going to tell you what I have to do. What if just for me to offer DeAndre Swift a contract, right? That's if we don't take a running back this year. So we don't know until we know. DeAndre Swift, he's a running back. I'll give him 13 games. In those 13 games, he got to have 150, 200 attempts. He got to have about 800 yards. I would say 1,000. Like he got to run for 25% more than he's run. So for me, he got to be pushing 1,000 rushing. And the touchdowns doesn't matter because if we keep Jamal Williams, we already know what happened. If you don't finish your food, he gonna finish it for you. And he has to get a breakaway touchdown. I mean, I'm not gonna cut him if he still get those 900 yards and, they're all within the 20, or if he get caught at the 1, I'm not gonna hold that against him. But we drafted Swift, and Swift, as far as the run game, I don't know, bro. I don't know. I would sign Jamal Williams for 2 years and trade Swift and draft Bijan. Swift has no trade value. I think he has very little. I think you would get one pick. My honest opinion, you would get a 3rd-round pick for DeAndre Swift. That's what I think. But let me know what you think in the comments below.